For Chinese stir-fries at home, ditch the wok. Forget about velveting. Use mince. It takes seasoning evenly and gives you that tender, saucy bite. Today it's cumin lamb, but the rules apply to beef, pork or chicken. And we skip the marination entirely because instead of chemically tenderizing with baking soda, here we have something that has been mechanically tenderized. Given the altered structure and the dramatically increased surface area, if time permits, remove the film, leave it in the fridge uncovered for an hour or two to dry the surface. That way you prevent the mince from weeping when it hits the hot pan, but resist the urge to salt it ahead, as that would alter the structure to make it more sausage-like. When you're ready, non-stick skillet, medium-high heat with a thin layer of high smoke point neutral oil. Still no need to handle raw meat. We flip this like a tortilla. Then we carefully remove the paper. For this recipe, you want to go with about 20% fat, both for flavor and for moisture retention. So far so good, thanks to the fridge drying, but if it weeps after a minute or two, it's absolutely fine. We'll backload on my reaction later. You can, of course, go the extra mile, spreading it on a tray in the fridge so you get even better browning. But I'm simply offering you a quick method for the weekdays with a tried and tested method to solve for texture. Once you start to develop this slightly golden edge, we first break this in half, gently. I cooked a few kilos, so you can just do this once. Then you flip. Look at the color. Once again, we hope for golden edge, but because of how this is dried, there's a higher likelihood of the other side weeping, giving you a pool of liquid. Just don't worry, stay calm. Now, once it starts to look like a medium rare steak, we cut them into slices. The first time I did it with the grain, if you could call that grain. Now, we cut across the grain. And for this, you can lower the heat slightly to avoid splashing. We've developed the flavors. Now we're recreating that egg white, starch, moisture barrier texture. Without the use of baking soda, with supermarket meat, you can actually taste the lamb instead of just the seasonings. For me, it's a worthy trade-off for the aesthetics and how quickly this cooks. They will break apart further, so don't worry too much if they look too chunky. Once you don't see visibly large pink chunks, stove off and we drain, just like you would during velveting. And now we have full control over the 20% fat and how much we want to add back to our pan. We move on to stress-free stage 2, the aromatics and the vegetables. Back to medium heat. If you're doing broccoli beef, this is when you add your broccoli. If you're doing kung pao chicken, your dried chilies. Today, just some sliced onions. Not for the sweetness, because it's a fast cooking dish, but for the contrasting texture and a bit of pungency. Same with the garlic. You want a bit of that kick. Optional, dried chilies for some heat and color, and you are in charge of how much lamb fat goes back in. Break everything apart, no more than 30 seconds in total. Once you can smell the garlic, lower the heat slightly, cumin powder goes in for the earthy, nutty flavors, which is fat soluble. So we allow them to bloom in our lamb fat. Now the backloaded Maillard reaction. Soy sauce, about 5% of the weight of the lamb, which works out to about 1%. They go in now instead of using it as a marinade. And we allow this to cook down to concentrate its flavors. So by the time the mince comes back, we're glazing the meat, not steaming it. No need for a starch slurry. Once you don't see much liquid, lamb goes back into mix. If dark color is part of your consideration, mix in a bit of dark soy sauce in your soy sauce mixture. Coriander stalks for contrasting texture, color, citrusy herbal freshness. Stove off, very last minute for balance, a tiny bit of Chinese black vinegar. You can use any form of citrus. And that is a very supermarket-friendly Chinese stir fry.